Sir Alex Ferguson didn't try to deny it. He did kick a football boot that hit David Beckham in the head.
Football is supposed to be 11 players fighting against one opponent. But sometimes, the most dangerous enemy is standing inside your own dressing room. Away from the cameras, behind closed doors, some of football's greatest stars have punched teammates, clashed with managers, and nearly destroyed entire squads. One argument over a pass ended with two players being sent off for fighting each other. One flying football boot helped end one of Manchester United's most famous partnerships, and one brutal training ground clash left even Zlatan Ibrahimović injured. These were not ordinary disagreements. They were explosions caused by ego, jealousy, pressure, power, and years of hidden resentment. So what really happens when the cameras disappear, the doors close, and football's biggest personalities finally lose control? These are the biggest dressing room fights in football history, and some of them change clubs forever. Inside dressing rooms and training grounds, elite footballers operate under conditions that almost guarantee tension. They compete for the same positions. They earn different salaries. One mistake can eliminate a team from a tournament or reduce a player's value by millions. Add exhaustion, ego, fear, and public humiliation, and the dressing room becomes one of the most emotionally dangerous places in sport. Some fights disappear within minutes, others divide squads and accelerate transfers, and a few become part of football history. Perhaps the most famous example did not remain behind closed doors at all. It exploded in front of more than 50,000 people. In April 2005, Newcastle United were losing 3-0 at home to Aston Villa. They were already playing with 10 men, and frustration had taken control of the match. Then Bowyer confronted his own teammate, Kieron Dyer, angry that Dyer had not passed him the ball. Within seconds, the two Newcastle players were throwing punches and pulling at each other's shirts, while teammates desperately tried to separate them. The referee sent both men off. Newcastle finished the match with only 8 players. It remains one of football's most extraordinary images. Two players wearing the same shirt, surrounded by the same supporters, fighting as if they represented rival clubs. The badge was supposed to unite them. For those few seconds, it meant nothing. A team can wear the same colors, follow the same manager, and chase the same result, yet still become divided by frustration and ego. But some confrontations carry even greater consequences, because they involve the most powerful person at the club. In February 2003, Manchester United were eliminated from the FA Cup by Arsenal. Inside the dressing room, Sir Alex Ferguson was furious. David Beckham had become one of the most recognizable athletes in the world, a United star, England captain, and global celebrity. But Ferguson's authority depended on one principle: no player could become bigger than the manager or the club. During the confrontation, Ferguson kicked a football boot from a pile on the floor. The boot flew across the room and struck Beckham above the eye, opening a cut that reportedly required stitches. The image of Beckham later appearing with a visible wound transformed an internal incident into a global story. Ferguson described the contact as accidental. Beckham referred to it as a freak moment, but the incident symbolized a relationship that had already begun to weaken. Beckham's fame was growing far beyond football. His marriage, fashion image, and sponsorships had made him one of the most marketable players on the planet. Ferguson, however, believed individual fame could never become more important than the team. Within months, Beckham was sold to Real Madrid. The flying boot did not create every problem between them, but it became the perfect symbol of the moment. One of football's most successful partnerships finally broke apart. And this is what makes dressing room fights so important. The physical confrontation is often only the final scene. The real fight may have been developing for months, through resentment, competition, and perceived disrespect. At Bayern Munich, two of Europe's most dangerous attackers demonstrated exactly that. Arjen Robben attacked from the right, Frank Ribéry attacked from the left. Together, they gave Bayern one of the most dangerous wing combinations in world football. But elite partnerships do not always require friendship. During Bayern's 2012 Champions League semifinal against Real Madrid, Robben and Ribéry reportedly argued over who should take a free kick. The disagreement continued at halftime. Inside the dressing room, Ribéry struck Robben, leaving bruising beneath his eye. Ribéry later apologized and was reportedly fined. On the surface, The fight appeared ridiculous. Two teammates fighting over a set piece while competing for a Champions League final. But at the highest level, every decisive moment carries status. Scoring brings praise, bonuses, headlines, and greater influence inside the squad. Who is trusted? Who gets the important moments? Who holds the greater status inside the team? Yet the most surprising part came later. The fight did not destroy their partnership. Robben and Ribéry continued playing together for years. They won the Champions League in 2013 and became one of the most celebrated attacking combinations of their generation. Their story reveals an uncomfortable truth. Conflict does not always destroy a team. The difference is whether the conflict is resolved or allowed to become permanent resentment. But at AC Milan, one training ground confrontation became famous because of the sheer physical power of the two men involved. Zlatan Ibrahimović had built his reputation around confidence, intimidation, and a refusal to fear anyone. Onyewu was different, but equally imposing. A powerful, athletic American defender who was physically dominant even by elite standards. During an AC Milan training session in 2010, Ibrahimović made a hard challenge on Onyewu. Onyewu reacted, and the confrontation quickly escalated into a serious fight. Teammates and staff rushed in to separate them. The clash was reportedly so intense that Ibrahimović suffered a rib injury. This was not a superstar attacking a frightened reserve player. It was a collision between two men who were both unwilling to retreat. Training ground fights often begin this way. A challenge is slightly too aggressive. One player believes the other is trying to embarrass him. A football exercise suddenly becomes a test of dominance. Because training is not only preparation. For players outside the starting 11, it is an audition. For established stars, it is where their authority can be challenged every day. One person sees commitment, another sees disrespect. And once pride becomes involved, a session can quickly turn into something far more dangerous. Years earlier, West Ham experienced one of the most disturbing examples of that boundary completely disappearing. During a West Ham training ground altercation in 1998, John Hartson and Berkovic became involved in a violent confrontation. Berkovic struck Hartson while they were on the ground. Hartson responded by kicking Berkovic in the face. The incident was captured on camera. That made it especially shocking. There was no rumor, and no carefully controlled club statement capable of softening what had happened. The footage showed the confrontation clearly. Hartson later expressed regret and described it as one of the lowest moments of his career. A player can build a career over hundreds of matches, yet one violent moment can become the image people remember most. But not every famous fight begins during training or inside a stadium. Sometimes the pressure follows players away from football completely. And when alcohol, rivalry, and strong personalities combine, even teammates from one of the greatest teams in history can turn against each other. Keane and Peter Schmeichel were central figures in Manchester United's most successful era. Keane was the demanding captain, who judged teammates by courage and intensity. Schmeichel was a dominant goalkeeper, aggressive, and unafraid to confront his own defenders. Both men were leaders, and leadership creates conflict when neither person is willing to accept the other's authority. Keane later revealed that he and Schmeichel fought during United's 1998 preseason tour of Asia. Alcohol had reportedly been involved. The confrontation left Keane with an injured hand. Ferguson reportedly told both players that they had disgraced the club. But the fight did not destroy Manchester United. The following season, they won the Premier League, FA Cup, and Champions League in the historic treble. That does not mean the fight helped them win, but it proves that successful dressing rooms are not always peaceful ones. Great teams can contain rivalry, jealousy, and personal dislike. What matters is whether the players can still trust one another when the match begins. Keane did not need to enjoy Schmeichel's personality to believe he would protect the goal. Professional trust can survive where friendship cannot. But when that trust disappears, the dressing room becomes unstable. A missed pass becomes evidence of selfishness. A substitution becomes humiliation. A mistake becomes personal. This is why managers monitor far more than fitness and tactics. They watch body language, training intensity, and the social structure of the squad. Who celebrates together? Who has stopped communicating? Who is becoming isolated? The answers can reveal problems long before the first punch is thrown. Modern clubs now employ psychologists and player care teams, partly because dressing room harmony has enormous financial value. When a footballer is worth $100 million, emotional conflict becomes a business risk. Football also has a strange relationship with aggression. Managers demand passion and ask players to never back down, but they must also prevent that same aggression from turning inward. Confidence can become arrogance. Leadership can become control. Competitive anger can become violence. The same qualities that make elite athletes successful can also make dressing rooms dangerous. So what were football's biggest dressing room fights really about? The punches attract attention, but the real story is always power. Who controls the dressing room? Who receives special treatment? Who takes the penalties? Who has the manager's trust? And who believes that trust has been taken away? Football teams wear identical shirts, but the people inside them do not share identical ambitions, salaries, or influence. For 90 minutes, they must hide those differences and operate as one unit. Usually firm, they succeed. But occasionally, the pressure breaks the illusion. The door closes, the voices rise, teammates move between two angry men. The opponent may be waiting outside, but sometime, the most dangerous battle is already inside the dressing room.